Thanks, Dr. Asta Dhingra, for joining us. So,
Pleasure.
let me introduce you to the audience. Dr. Dhingra is a clinical psychologist and a relationship therapist. Today, we are discussing the basics of therapy, why somebody should seek out therapy. The context, though, the trigger, though, for the conversation was a recent viral clip in which actor Ranbir Kapoor says that. Therapy hasn't worked out for him, and it sort of seemed a little like manipulating his own life. So that he can have personal views on any issue, but as a public personality, because mental health is a public health issue, and there is already a lot of stigma attached to going to therapy. So, what do you think when celebrities speak in a way that can be considered as negative? Do you think it's responsible?
Yes, so I have gone through the recent interview wherein Ranbir Kapoor did mention his experience with the therapy. Particularly, if I'm not wrong, it was related to his father being diagnosed of cancer then, and he expressed that he found therapy very unhelpful because he felt that he was unable to open up with his therapist. Somewhere also he mentioned that the therapist's approach seemed more manipulating his life rather than addressing his core issues. So I think that it's important to note here that the entire therapy process, it somewhere aims to help you to understand and address the issues of the clients more effectively, and we as therapists do not manipulate life. So it could be that it is his bad experience with the therapist, and not overall he meant to say, I hope he doesn't meant to say that overall the therapy process is manipulative. Also, there's a possibility that there might have been a mismatch between his needs and the therapeutic approach that he has encountered. uh, Therapy in itself is a highly personalized concept, and what works for one person might not work for the another. So we have to actually create the entire therapy process individually depending upon each client's signs, symptoms, problem areas. And yes, as you say, coming this from various celebrities, yes, it definitely impacts the perception of therapy in already stigmatized. It's a already stigmatized concept. So yes, celebrities, when it comes from their mouth, that it can deeply influence the perception of therapy for a layman and for a common man who probably take a lot of courage to reach out to a therapist. We have heard Deepika Padukone, we have heard Lady Gaga very openly discussing about their positive experiences with therapy. We know Honey Singh discussing his therapy process very positively, and hence you see that change coming in when people have started acknowledging what depression is, what substance abuse is. So, yes, I would say that all this definitely hampers.
Okay. So celebrities seeking therapy obviously is one thing. Therapy is not a very cheap process. It is an expensive service.
So, first of all, through this channel, I would like to clarify one very important thing. You reach out to any general physician for your cold and cough. The doctor sees you, talks about your symptoms, I don't think for more than 2 or 3 minutes or more than 5 minutes. And whatever the doctor charges is again an amount. For us, when anyone comes to our therapy sessions, we talk to the client for about 45 minutes to 1 hour. If you equate both the timings and the visitation and the time spent by the doctor towards the client, the time also matters. So spending about 1 hour and spending just 5 minutes and taking the same charges, I don't think counseling is actually that expensive affair. It has been, again, because of stigma, because of not being able to reach out, it has been stigmatized, and typed as an expensive affair, though it doesn't seem to be one.
Okay, so it actually, this whole notion that it is expensive in itself is adding to the stigma and stopping people
Yes.
from going. So,
Yes.
I mean, do you think we should at all, as individuals who have absolutely different set of struggles than celebrities, look up to them when it comes to mental health advice?
See, when it comes to mental health, particularly, I very strongly believe that each individual should always remember the difference between a real life and a real life. So whenever anyone endorse, any celebrities endorsing depression, anxiety, any NGO working in certain fields like depression or any mental health area for that matter, uh, we should always consider that they are getting a plenty of amount to endorse that. Nobody is doing it for free, everybody is doing it for a TRP, right? So I generally tell people in my workshops, in my sessions, also when I communicate with them, that it is not in their interest. It is in their interest. It is not in our interest. It is the real life and not the real life. And the differences in their lifestyle, they have probably servants about for everything of their household chores. They do not have to manage their kids. They do not have to manage their husband. They do not have to manage their entire family or even their work. They have managers and servants for everything, even to drive a car. For us, these are probably the challenges which require a minor thing like a time management, for which also, a common man has to reach out to a psychologist to be able to help in the lifestyle changes. For us, we have to live in the place we are living. Say, for example, Gurgaon, Delhi, Mumbai, wherever. In spite of the dangerous weather outside, weather conditions, floods, climatic changes, we can't just on the spot fly to US, London, places like that to have a lifestyle change. We can't afford that. Considering the affordability, considering the limited resources we have, and considering that it's very important to be rooted and understand your own self first, rather than, we talk about sibling issues and sibling comparison. If that can be so dangerous and abruptive in a behavioral pattern, comparing yourself with a celebrity life can automatically be very devastating. So it's better to first understand what are your needs. Are your needs, do your needs also require such expensive therapeutic intervention? And therapy for a common man, I believe, is a necessity. But whereas if you talk about celebrity, I think it is a luxury for them. So that is also a big difference. For us, what is necessity is something we need to really run up to and just take it, because that is going to hinder our day to day routine. It's not a fancy thing, it is something which is going to accommodate us, help us adjust and adapt to the present situation, so that we can run a very small basic family structure effectively and efficiently. So that's the huge difference between this comparison, I believe.
Thanks for your answer. It was really well put. You do share some tips with our, audience to just to how to maintain that basic emotional hygiene when you spot yourself in that spiral, which takes you to your lows. How do you stop yourself from doing that and maintain a certain mood tempo so that you're not fluctuating through the day?
With my experience of 12 years working with so many clients, I have realized deep down the line that self awareness is one very very important thing that is a big miss in every individual's life. We admit the fact that we don't know ourselves, though we don't accept the fact that we don't know ourselves. Why did we get angry on a particular thing? What irritates us? What triggers us? What stresses us? What are our strengths? How many of us who are working do or involve in doing a SWOT analysis on a fortnightly basis or on a monthly basis? We don't. So we generally don't work on our own self. Hence, self awareness is very important. And when I say self awareness, we can schedule it in our schedule, wherein answering just few quick questions about yourself, like what are your strengths, what is the with recent update, growth, what are the challenges you are facing, how can you overcome those challenging, what are the resources you have, how can you upgrade yourself, where do you think you are losing on. So answering just these things, sitting with your own self, which I just mentioned, is very, very important, and it is going to help you reflect on your self awareness. You can identify those patterns which are reoccurring, your emotional patterns, and the way you have reacted to certain situations, so that you don't repeat time and again. Also, because the millennials are seen to be less patient, we've lost patience. We are very abrupt, we are very on the go kinds. So it's important to have a healthy communication where we can, clearly discuss, share, communicate, have friends wherein the communication is very open and clear, and we have we set those boundaries. We know where we can go wrong, what irritates us, and when we have identified that, we can set our own boundaries. And a basic walk for a good hygiene, wherein you can regulate your emotions, is very important. So that answers your first part. The use of affirmations can also help to a great extent. You can, like, suppose you're working, I can see, you can just affix in front of you four statements that you can keep reading, which is going to regulate your neurons, and can activate you and give you a positive mood whenever you want to. So you can visualize that and you can work on that. वहां पे एक वो स्टेज आ जाती है जहाँ पे हम कॉन्टिन्यूस कंपैरिजन कर रहे हैं कि उनके पास वो है, मुझे उसकी तरह कार खरीदनी है, मुझे उसकी तरह जिंदगी जीनी है, मैं इतना पैसा कमाऊंगा कि आई विल कम टू दैट स्टेज. एंड दैट स्ट्रगल फॉर अ लेमैन नेवर एंड्स, because not everybody is born with that golden spoon. सो अपने आप को, अपने अपने सेल्फ एक्सेप्टेंस को काफी ज्यादा कल्टिवेट करें, और अपने लिए जो एक्सपेक्टेशंस बनाएं वो एक नॉर्मल हेल्दी एक्सपेक्टेशन सेट करें.
So somebody told me something very interesting today, and they said that therapy didn't work with them essentially because therapy tells that you have a choice, and but essentially in life, wherever socioeconomically you have been planted, whether you're privileged or not privileged, whether you have access to certain things or not, is essentially a given. There is no choice when it comes to choosing our place in the world. It's a given. Then what kind of hope does therapy provide to us? Existential hope.
Yeah, so when you talk about therapy, as a therapist, it provides, or we tend to provide, a safe space where you can talk to a trained professional like us about your thoughts, about your challenges. And when you talk about this, circumstances are not same. You can't choose, but it is very rightly said that you can always alter your own self. You can always modify your own self while waiting for the situations around you or people around you to change. And exactly is the same goal. I mean, as therapist, we have the same goal. We tend to understand the root cause of the client's problem. What is the root cause? By understanding the root cause, we try to work on how we can develop the coping skills, and what are the coping faulty mechanisms that the client has been using, which has not worked for him or her. Say, for example, if the client is in denial, मेरे साथ तो ये हो ही नहीं सकता. So then we counter in a talkative environment, when we talk it out with the client, ki everything is possible, whether it is you or it is me. What you have to understand is acceptance is important. So we inculcate a lot of skills, so that if this situation or similar situations in life occur again with the same client, the client is able to understand which coping to pick and apply in this situation. So our entire aim is that that the client should not reach out to us again for the same kinds of problem. We try to inculcate a set of soft skills, a set of coping mechanisms, depending upon the probability of the client facing problems and the client being in the problem at the present.
So largely, it's a problem solving.
Yes, we try that, through this therapy session they understand themselves better. They identify what patterns or issues they might be existing, which has affected their life, and we tend to find practical ways for the clients to be able to cope and resolve them.
What do you say to people who have a resistance towards therapy?
हमें पता सब कुछ होता है, we know a lot of things, still we are not able to do a lot of things. We know we have to make an activity schedule, we know we have to maintain a routine, we know we have to invest in our hobbies and things like that. So still we are not able to do it, is also one of the reason that resistance comes in. Maybe, like Ranbir Kapoor very rightly said, that for him the therapy did not work. So probably his experience, might be his first experience, would not or had not gone right. Similar is the case with any one of us. If our first experience did not go right, is one of the major reason why we would not want to go for a therapy. There are many conditions, like if you say, if I don't I know what I have to do, I am in a depressive state, still I'm not being able to just get up from my bed, because there is a severity of the condition, the depression or the anxiety. It is very debilitating. So it it is not only psychological, it has got a lot to do with your neurochemical changes that happens. If a neurochemical change that happens in your brain is leading you to a sad mood, it is going to take a lot of pain, pressure, push to, come out of it, because this is going to lead you to cognitive distortions. You will automatically generate negative emotions. You will feel like, kuch help nahi karega, nothing is going to help, I am not even worth it. If this has happened to me, this is probably the last thing that can happen. So I might die. I might think of dying. Things like that automatically come in your mind, because your mind is not in a capacity to understand anything else but the thoughts that are coming up in our mind because of overthinking. And then every individual wants results like this. But therapy is a process, it is a journey. It won't ever give you instant results like a medicine can give you. Medicine can give you relief from a particular pain for a set period of time, for 6 hours. If you consume a paracetamol for your fever, it will not you will not, the chances that you will not have fever for about 6 hours, but after 6 hours you will again have fever. While it's unlikely with the therapy. If you take therapy for a common cause, say for example for depression, for a particular emotion that you have felt because of which you've gone into depression, the therapist is going to take you to the journey wherein the next time you will not face the similar situation with the same level of severity. So there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of stigma. So these all are also the issues that because of which we know that we are depressed, we know that we are having anxiety, still we are not able to do anything about it. Coming to your point of the clients or the people who are very resilient, not resilient, I mean resistance towards the therapy. uh, it can be both ways. It can be because the what we call as a therapeutic alliance, the bond with the therapist might not have developed well. The therapist might not be able to develop or establish a good trust with the client, or might not have been able to provide a safe environment. So more enhancement of self-awareness, setting realistic goals can actually help in breaking that resistance from reaching out to a psychologist.
In what situations therapy doesn't work? And in your personal experience, have you had clients with whom therapy didn't work at all?
Oh, yes, there. See, therapy solely do not work ever on clients with severe mental health conditions. So, if you are actively hallucinating, if you are in severe depression, if you have panic attacks, therapy would not work. It will first be the first line of treatment will be the medication. Pharmacotherapy will be the first line of treatment, because the neurochemical imbalance has reached to the extent that normal conversation is not comprehensible for the client. And what we do is a communication. So when the communication, like if I talk to you in German, you will not be able to understand. Same is the condition of anyone who has a severe mental health condition, right? So at that particular time, it is important to refer and recommend. So I personally do it. I have a lot of clients, kids even with ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder, hyperactive, impulsive, who might just visit your center and might just slap you and go away, because you can't control them. You can't ask the security guards to hold them tight, because that is also an offensive step. So, as a therapist, it is very important for us also to understand that yes, there will be a lot of clients that we will come across, जिनका severity बहुत ज़्यादा होगा. उनको सबसे पहला line of treatment is कि उनको दवा के लिए आप prescribe करें. आप किसी recommend करें किसी psychiatrist को जो prescribe करे medications. Let the client have a normal sense of mindset wherein the medicines will soothe the client, and then वो comprehensible हो थोड़ा सा, तो आप therapy start कर सकते हैं.
This is actually a very good distinction, when it should be taken and when it might not be that useful, and the chronology of therapeutic intervention. So what is your advice to people who tend to self-diagnose? Because I watch there's a lot of material out there on social media, and there is a lot of pop psychology. We're constantly bombarded with the psychological information on Instagram. I think as a lot of the psychologists actually are on Instagram, they themselves make reels. So what would you say about the abundance of information on social media? And is it a good thing to consume so much material?
Yeah, so very rightly said. There is bombardment of information which is from a common man as well as from a good resourceful psychologist. But for a layman, it is very difficult to bifurcate which resource is accurate and which resource should be read. So I generally tell all my clients and people in general, whomsoever I get to meet, even if you want to read about what you are going through. Like I remember while we were studying psychology in our class 11th and 12th, we had a chapter which reads psychological disorders. Right. And the moment we reach eat disorder, we were like, oh, this is something with my father. Oh, this is something with me. Oh, this is something with my mother. Because the symptoms and signs are so common, it is about the severity, it is about the duration, it is about the consistency of those signs and symptoms reappearing and happening time and again in your life. So there are other considerations as well, which gives you, or a psychiatrist or a psychologist like us, a clear picture of what exactly you are going through. So, and the treatment in itself is very different. So, if you have consumed a substance today, and because of which you became hyperactive, the treatment is very different. You were hyperactive and you consumed a substance today out of hyperactivity to have more elation, to have more euphoric feeling. The treatment is altogether different. You will be treated on substance first and the euphoria later. followed by that. And then there is a lot of comorbidities of illnesses which is not catered to in the social media or the Instagram information or the Google information. So even if anyone wishes to read, there are technical, authentic resources provided by APA, provided by DSM, provided by ICD, which are our books, of diagnosis, our diagnostic manuals. So I generally give my clients, whenever they come for a sitting, I give them the book and I say, please read it yourself. It's not me who's diagnosing you like that. It is the book which is well researched, on about 2 lakh 3 lakh of a population, and then they have come to an inference that if these symptoms persist for this long duration, can be said to have depression or anxiety or a panic. So resources are available. You can reach out to a psychologist only for resources. Don't come to us for therapy. But if you want to just reassure yourself, if you have something, if you don't have something, you can come only for assessments. We are not only doing the therapy part. You can come and get your profiling done from us. We can do the personality profiling and let you know what is the probability, what sort of personality you are. Are you depressed? Are you anxious? If yes, what all you can do?
So when it comes to diagnosis, there is often this belief or that we are over-diagnosing people. Everybody seems to have some pathology. We are pathologizing human behavior. And anyway, diagnosis probably will give the person some information about what is it that makes them behave the way they are behaving. But how far does it go in actually addressing the issue?
See, if I tell you, we are always in our trainings being taught to not be in a hurry to diagnose an individual, because whatever symptoms are being displayed today, if we in a hurry diagnose, again the problem of stigma will arise as quick as possible. The client needs an assurance, the repo needs to be built first. So I generally feel very strongly that diagnosing again leads to labeling. There might be comorbidities that probably in couple of sessions to come, while you talk more, while you get to know the client more, you will realize that okay, there were 5 more things that were unaddressed or were not sought after in the first session primarily, and then your diagnosis will change because the symptoms changed. So medically, it is very important because the diagnosis part is very important because it is symptom based. If X is a symptom, clonazepam. If Y is a symptom, SSRIs. So it's like medically, it is symptomatic. It is symptom based treatment. For us, it is solution based treatment. We have to offer solution for each symptom that the client is facing. Hence, if we diagnose on day one, we are going to somehow follow a systematic approach of that particular disorder, ruling out all other positive and options available to us for all other signs and symptoms that could be possibly there.
Yeah.
So we will also be kind of biased towards treating the client if we are in a hurry to, give a thappa to the patient that okay, this is depression.
Yeah.
So I generally tell my clients that in spite of the fact that you want to know what is the problem with you, I would not want to tell you what is the problem with you,
Hmm.
because it is going to take me about 5 to 6 sessions for myself to realize that okay, it is depression. Okay, you're feeling sad. Is it depressive symptoms that you are feeling, or is it depression that you are facing? For us also to delineate between these two, it's difficult.
So thanks a lot, Dr. Dhingra. That was very extensive and very exhaustive as well. But I think we still could not touch upon the issues of, because you're also a relationship therapist, so we could not touch upon the issues of that. And probably we'll have another chat very soon to talk about relationship dynamics. But thanks for now. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Thank you so much for inviting. Thank you.